Welcome to Nutrition Basics. My name is Samantha Haswell, and I'm the Integrative Health Dietitian at Massey Cancer Center. Today, we'll be talking about protein in your cancer diet. First, let's talk about why protein matters. Protein has a few very important functions. One of the things protein does is it helps heal your tissues. This is especially important as you recover from surgery, chemotherapy, or radiation therapy. Protein also helps fight infection. During your cancer treatment, your risk for infection could be higher. Good protein and calorie intake can help keep your body strong to fight off potential infections. Protein is also important before, during, and after cancer treatment to help build and maintain muscle mass. Eating protein at your meals and snacks during your cancer treatment can help preserve your muscle mass and help you stay well. Protein is also a great source of calories. Getting enough calories during your cancer treatment is important to help you maintain your weight. If you're trying to lose weight or maintain a healthy weight after your cancer treatment, protein can help keep you full and satisfied while also helping you preserve or build your muscle mass. Now that we've talked about why protein is important, let's talk about the different protein types. For the purpose of this PowerPoint, I've separated them into 4 categories: complete proteins, incomplete proteins, animal-based proteins, and plant-based proteins. Let's start with talking about complete and incomplete protein. But before we go further, it's helpful to understand why there's a distinction between incomplete and complete proteins. Amino acids are the building blocks of protein, and your body uses amino acids to make necessary proteins in the body that it needs. 20 amino acids are present, and your body can produce 11 of them on its own. The other 9 amino acids can be found in foods. These are called the essential amino acids. Complete proteins have all 9 essential amino acids in consistent amounts, while incomplete proteins don't contain all 9 amino acids. But you can combine them with other foods that may be considered incomplete to make a complete protein. Let's start with complete proteins. All animal-based proteins are complete proteins, meaning that they have all 9 of those essential amino acids. Animal-based proteins include things like fish, shellfish, eggs and egg whites, poultry, red meat, and dairy. Most plant-based proteins are incomplete, but there are 2 complete plant-based proteins: quinoa and soy. For those of you who haven't tried quinoa, quinoa is an edible seed that tastes similar to a whole grain. If you want to try it out, it tastes great mixed in stuffed bell peppers, or it can even be mixed with milk and fruit in the morning for a healthy breakfast. Now let's talk about incomplete proteins. Incomplete proteins are all plant-based, but other plant-based incomplete proteins can be paired with these to create a complete protein with all 9 essential amino acids. For example, you can pair legumes like beans, lentils, and peas with whole grains like whole wheat bread, corn or cornbread, or brown rice or wild rice. Same thing with nuts and seeds. They're a great source of protein, and you can pair them with something like whole grain bread, some whole wheat crackers, maybe some rice cakes, or do the same with things like peanut butter, almond butter, sun butter, other nut and seed butters. Keep in mind that you want to pair these proteins together to make them complete, but they don't always have to be eaten together. For example, if you're in the mood for some nuts, say you want some cashews, you don't have to eat a rice cracker at the same time to make sure that you're getting that complete protein. As long as you're making sure that whole grains are part of your diet throughout your day, eating things like a handful of cashews can still become a complete protein throughout your day. Now that we've talked about different protein types, let's talk about proteins in your cancer prevention and survivorship journey. If you've seen our talk on nutrition for colorectal cancer prevention, you may have seen this before. Something to keep in mind when thinking about animal proteins is that high amounts of red meat in the diet and processed meats have been associated with increased risk for colorectal cancer. Try to limit your red meat to no more than 12 to 18 ounces per week, and avoid processed meats if you can. Unfortunately, even small amounts of processed meats have been associated with increased risk of colorectal cancer. And these processed meats include anything that has been smoked, cured, salted, fermented, or had preservatives added to it. Let's talk a little bit about healthier protein sources. So we talked about how limiting your red meat and avoiding processed meats can be important in your cancer survivorship and prevention journey, but let's talk about ways to make it healthier. When thinking about animal proteins, try choosing things like poultry, fish, and shellfish more often. You could also think of animal proteins as a complement or a side dish to your mostly plant-based meal to help you with your survivorship changes. Keep in mind that plant-based items can be a great source of protein. Consider meatless meals or pair meals with proteins like beans, chickpeas, tofu, edamame, quinoa, or those nuts and seeds. We talked about protein at your meals and snacks, but let's talk about protein powders and protein shakes. Protein powders can be added to smoothies or milkshakes and can be a great way to increase your protein intake, especially if you or a loved one does not like pre-made protein shakes or has elevated protein needs during their cancer treatment. Pre-made protein shakes can be a quick and easy way to get your protein up on the go or help you reach your protein goals between meals. Protein needs change depending on someone's medical history and where they are in their cancer treatment. The type of protein powder or protein shake that's most appropriate for you or your loved one may be different as well. I've shown here in this slide a variety of different brands or types of protein powders and shakes that you can try. But if you are a patient at a cancer center, it's a really good idea to consider talking to your dietitian to see which protein shake or protein powder may be best for you based on your medical history. Now that we've covered protein sources, let's talk about how much of your plate should be protein-based. When putting together meals for cancer survivorship, keep in mind that you want about 1/3 or less of your plate to be animal protein, or 2/3 or more of your plate to be plant-based. This is based on recommendations from the American Institute for Cancer Research called the New American Plate. And this is how they recommend that you get mostly plant-based meals for cancer prevention and survivorship. Keep in mind that depending on where you are in your cancer treatment, your weight status, and other factors in your medical history, you may require a more liberal diet than what is placed in the New American Plate. Speak with your dietitian at Massey Cancer Center for recommendations based on where you are in your cancer treatment. Thank you for listening in. I hope you learned something new about protein in your cancer diet. From now until December 6th, Massey will be hosting our weekly patient farm stand from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Adult Outpatient Pavilion. This farm stand for patients and their caregivers is a great way to try fresh seasonal produce to help in your health journey. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out via email at samantha.haswell@vcuhealth.org.